Hey everyone, I'm Ian Douglas, the author of the website techinterview.guide. I do live streams every Sunday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern about topics relevant to interview preparation for the tech industry. I occasionally record longer Q&A sessions, and I've started to break those into smaller videos to post. And there'll be information at the end of this video about how to get in contact with me if you have additional questions. Let's get to it. This next one was kind of interesting as well. Should I apply for jobs when I don't feel 100% ready? In my perspective, I think if you wait until you feel ready, you're never going to apply for that job. So there are studies and research about white men tend to apply for jobs when they think they match about 30% of a job, where women and people of color, they tend to only apply for a job when they match like 80% of the requirements or what they feel are the requirements for the job. And so that could play into a lot of why there's a lot of white men in tech and less, non-white men in tech, because people feel like they aren't ready to go apply for that job yet. Should you apply for the job? Absolutely. I think you should. One piece of advice that I saw as a follow-up to this question was to work on projects instead of, trying to, prepare to sort of be ready, or like, how do you get ready for that job if you don't feel 100% ready? One piece of advice that I saw as a follow-up on this was like, well, just go continue to work on projects until you do feel ready. But again, I think that you could just keep working on projects and then you get distracted and you end up maybe taking all of that work in a different direction than that job that you really had your eyes set on. Another person gave a piece of advice that said, well, there's no reason that you can't apply for a job and work on projects at the same time. And this kind of goes back to what I said in another question. Not everybody's got kind of that position and privilege to work on side projects. And I think that that's an important distinction to make, that not everybody has the means and the time and the capability and the energy at the end of the day, to be able to put time into a side project to where they feel like they're making significant enough progress to have actually learned something. For example, when I lived in Los Angeles, it was not uncommon to have like a 45-minute to 90-minute commute each direction. And then you put in like an 8 or 9 hour workday, and then you got to make that same commute all the way home. Well, there goes 12 hours of your day. By the time you commute and you work, you've got to sleep, you've got to have a meal, you got to spend time with your friends and or significant other and or family. If you start tinkering with a project at 9 o'clock and you go to bed by 10, how much progress are you really going to make in an hour to where you feel like you made productive progress on that project in only an hour? It's going to feel really hard to do, and I think that could potentially lead to more burnout. So I think my advice here, should you apply when you don't feel 100% ready, I would say, well, how ready do you feel? If you feel like 60% ready, 70% ready, could you apply for that job? Maybe. If it's like a FANG level company, Facebook, Amazon, Google, Netflix, Airbnb, all those kinds of big tech companies, you're probably going to want to feel more like 100% ready, because those interviews are grueling and they're really, really hard. But if you're just going for any kind of tech job that's not a name brand kind of job, I don't think you have to feel 100% ready. I think that the more you practice interviewing, the better you're going to get at interviewing. The more you practice technical challenges, the better you're going to be at doing technical challenges. And so it really comes down to practice makes better. It's kind of the saying that I use. I heard Martin talk on his podcast today, and he said practice makes progress, which is another way of saying practice makes better. You're going to get better at things that you put your time into. So whether that's a project or just finding time to practice interviewing, you can find incremental improvements to get better at things. But that incremental improvement also needs good feedback as well. And I've talked about that on the stream a bunch too, that I could go work out at the gym and I could just lift weights and hope that I gain some muscle and I don't hurt myself. But unless I've actually got a coach there showing me what to do and why to do it a particular way and give me good feedback on what I'm doing wrong, I'm probably going to hurt myself, and it's probably going to take me longer to see the outcome that I want. And so having people that can kind of coach you and guide you and talk you through things, I think is a more effective approach to practicing interviewing. So should you apply if you don't feel ready? I could put the question back on you and say, what would make you feel ready? Is it that you don't understand, a couple of algorithms that you think you need to know? Is it that you don't know a technology as deep as you think you should know? And it comes down to, why do you think you need to know that? Do you know for a fact that the company is going to ask you that kind of technical challenge, or do you just want to be practiced just in case they do it? I think that that can be tricky. It can be a little dangerous to feel like you are so prepared that you can handle any interview ever. I think as you do your networking, as you do your research, you can talk to people at those companies and say, hey, what should I really study? Like, what's really important to study to get a job here? What do I really need to know? Like, do I have to go study, breadth first search and heap algorithms and sorting algorithms if I'm just doing like JavaScript front end React apps? Like, I'm never actually going to go build any of that stuff for real. I'm not actually going to go build a recursive function as part of my front end JavaScript app. Is that really going to be part of the interview process? And you don't want to ask in a tone that's sounding critical of them or their practice. But you can certainly ask, like, hey, what are the actual important skills that I really should be studying to best prepare for this particular job or this particular interview? I think a lot of companies are willing to be more transparent than you think about what to actually go study and how to feel prepared. And I think that you can also lost my train of thought there a little bit. As you practice different kinds of interviews, go on an interview for a company maybe that you don't care about, and get some of the jitters out and answer some of those behavioral questions and technical questions, and then learn from that. Like, give yourself your own feedback and critique on what you could do better, and then go apply for the job that you actually care about. And so I think that they kind of play into each other, and so ideally you're doing practices like mock interviews. But if you need to go on a real interview as a practice interview, then go find some company that you don't care about. Best case scenario, they like you and they want to make you an offer. Now you can go take that job offer and dangle it in front of the company you do want to work for and be like, hey, I got this offer in hand, but then I saw the job post for your company, and I love your company. You're aligned with what I want to do. And so, is there any possibility of like getting through the interview process, because this offer is going to expire? I'll ask them for an extension because I'd really rather work for you, but is there anything that can happen there? And you'd be surprised what kind of movement you can make at a company by just saying like, hey, I've got an offer, but I'd really rather work for you. Is there something that we can do? I think that a lot of companies are willing to hire good talent. And if you can, reasonably prove to them that you actually have an offer, you're not just making it up. I think that you can, you can use that as leverage, where they're going to feel like they're missing out if they don't interview you and hire you, because clearly somebody liked you enough to make you an offer. Now you may have to disclose a little bit of information, like maybe who the company is, or maybe some detail about the offer, just so they have some expectation of whether they can match the offer or beat it, or even be on like the same sort of playing field as that other offer. But so be willing and ready to do that. You don't have to disclose the entire thing, but you can give them some information about like who the company is that you got that offer from. So go practice an interview with a company that's not as important to you. And if you get an offer, now you've got extra leverage. If not, you've at least practiced the interview to then go interview with the company that you do care about. So either way, it's kind of win-win for that. So hopefully that'll give some ideas there. Hey, thanks for watching. I love helping people out with interview prep, and I hope this video helped you in some way. If you found this Q&A useful, please consider subscribing. You can follow me on Twitch as well for the live stream twice a week. Check out techinterview.guide/streaming for more information. I also have a daily email series that you can subscribe to on the website. There are never any ads, and when you finish the series, I scrub your information out of my database permanently. Finally, if you have a question that you'd like answered on the stream, you can find my contact info on techinterview.guide. I prefer LinkedIn or email. If you leave your question in a YouTube comment, it might take me longer to find it. But I'll see you next time.